Bienvenidos a nuestra cobertura especial de las elecciones presidenciales de Estados Unidos 2024. Hoy dos candidatos se enfrentan en la carrera hacia la Casa Blanca, la actual vicepresidenta Kamala Harris y el expresidente Donald Trump. Un evento que definirá el futuro del país y ha captado la atención del mundo entero. Yo soy Karen Gutiérrez, estoy aquí para analizar los detalles más importantes. Comencemos. Antes de revisar los resultados, recordemos brevemente cómo funciona el sistema electoral de Estados Unidos. Los votantes no eligen directamente al presidente, sino a los miembros del colegio electoral, quienes emiten el voto al final. Cada estado tiene un número de electores según su población y el candidato que obtenga 270 votos electorales será el próximo presidente de Estados Unidos. Esta breve explicación del sistema electoral nos permite saber cómo ha estado de reñida la contienda, especialmente en estados claves como Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Carolina del Norte y Pensilvania. Antes de entrar en los detalles de esta jornada electoral, hagamos un rápido repaso de quiénes son los candidatos y lo que está en juego hoy. Por un lado tenemos a Kamala Harris, la primera mujer y vicepresidenta de ascendencia india y jamaiquina en la historia de Estados Unidos. Ha sido una firme defensora de los derechos civiles y el fortalecimiento de la economía para la clase media. Por otro lado tenemos a Donald Trump, quien busca regresar a la Casa Blanca tras su mandato, con una plataforma centrada en la inmigración y la seguridad nacional, el crecimiento económico también. ¿Qué propuestas traen cada uno? ¿Cuál es la visión que ofrecen para Estados Unidos? Bienvenidos a nuestra... Para entender mejor lo que está en juego, hemos invitado a expertos para que compartan sus perspectivas sobre lo que estas elecciones significan para Estados Unidos y el mundo. Algunos piensan que una reelección de Donald Trump podría llevar a un giro hacia una política más proteccionista, mientras que una victoria de Harris consolidaría las políticas progresionistas de la actual administración Biden.
We're just getting ready here.
Okay, that's fine. You just let me know when you're ready.
¿Empiezo con esto, verdad? ¿O no? Okay. Además, además de los expertos, escucharemos a la comunidad latina cuyo voto ha sido clave en esta elección. Sus opiniones reflejan las preocupaciones y aspiraciones de millones de personas que buscan un futuro mejor. Estamos aquí con miembros de la comunidad latina quienes comparten su perspectiva sobre esta elección y lo que esperan del próximo presidente. ¿Cómo ven la comunidad latina esta contienda? ¿Qué temas les afectan directamente y cómo creen que cada candidato los abordará? Con nosotros, we have Dr. Kathy Escamilla. Dr. Kathy Escamilla is a professor emerita from the University of Colorado Boulder. She is a nationally recognized expert in bilingual education. Dr. Kathy, do you think the candidates have shown genuine commitment to the needs and concerns of the Latino community?
Oh, I think they're doing better, but I don't think they're doing great. I think that obviously I will tell you up front, I am not, I'm hoping that we elect the first woman president tonight, so I have a biased viewpoint. I think that one of the candidates has paid attention to the Latino community for the wrong reasons, and the other one has paid some attention. But they could have paid more. And I go for the phrase that says, there are no Latino voters, there are Latinos who vote. And what I think the popular press and maybe the candidates have failed to do is to recognize all of the within group diversity in this group. It isn't one group, that Latinos, there are all kinds of people who fall in under the umbrella of what are labeled Latinos. And I think there's a failure to understand the within group diversity.
Thank you. What changes do you hope to see in areas such as education and healthcare that impact families?
Well, first of all, with regard to education, we're missing a great opportunity with newly arrived Latinos. We need to make sure that these children in schools have, first of all, good schooling, but secondly, opportunities to maintain their bilingualism. And instead of what we see with too many kids, that generational quote unquote Latinos end up replacing English with Spanish and end up not being bilingual and biliterate. So that's one big area where I think we need to work on. A second one is just tapping into the strengths. We tend to see Latino kids, again, broadly defined as kids who come to school needing remediation. That's not the case. They come to school with a lot of strengths, and they come to school with a lot of parent support. And I don't think we have tapped into the parent support, and I don't think we have looked enough for the assets that the kids bring to school with them. We see them as a group of kids who need to be remediated, and that's a sad stereotype, and we really need to work on that. With regard to health, access is always an issue. I mean, you have to have access, and hopefully we can expand things that are working fairly well for Latino communities, like the Affordable Care Act, like prescription drugs, like more access to preventative health care, because too much health is done after you get sick, and a lot of stuff can be done in a preventative way.
My last question for you, Dr. Kathy, what impact could young Latinos and first-generation voters have on the outcome of this election?
Oh, enormous. I hope they get out in millions. I think their impact could be tremendous. And I think with that kind of impact, then you make a political statement. And then you're not so likely to be ignored the next time around or overlooked, because I don't think the group is being ignored, but certainly not. People will pay more attention to you, especially as Latinos in some states and in some locales in some states become the most significant voting bloc.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kathy Escamilla, for all your dedicated work, and most importantly, for using your voice in today's election to represent those who cannot.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We have with us here is Deborah Burgess. Did I say that right, Deborah?
That is correct, Deborah Burgess. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, I can now.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I had my sound up as well. How are you doing this evening?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Are you Miss Burbian?
If I am what? Sorry.
Are you Miss Reyes?
Yes. Vivian
Yeah,
Reyes.
nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
My first question for you, Deborah, is have you noticed an increase in outreach and representation of the communities of color in the 2024 campaign compared to previous elections?
Absolutely. I've seen a tremendous growth in that. It should have been like that from the very beginning, even probably before you were born. I'm a little older than you. I think that, I prognosticated a lot of this back. I'm a former college teacher at University of Colorado, Denver, and I had mentioned about people of color, specifically Latinos. That vote is very critical, and it is increased. And on one end, I think the Democratic Party has, and I'm being a little biased here, has embraced that a little bit more. I've seen a tremendous increase in the Latino vote around the country here in the United States, Colorado especially. I'm originally from Florida. I've been in Colorado since 1989. I actually live here longer than where I was born and raised. A tremendous increase in it. I have seen it, and I think the Democratic Party is doing a better job of reaching out in an honorable way to the Latino population, because it is a diverse group within itself. Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Do you
Yes.
think the candidates have shown genuine commitment to the needs and concerns of the Latino community?
I think that the commitment is starting, but it needs to be more. I think that I don't want to see commitment being when there's someone is running for office. This is a national, as you know, national office. We have a lot of candidates and ballots and measures here that they make commitments only when they feel that it's for their good. I think the commitment to Latinos and other population needs to be year round, not just when we're having a major election to that. So I think it needs to be increased tremendously. I would give it a percentage, maybe like about 60 or 70%. It needs to be 100% all the time.
My last question for you is, which candidate do you believe has a more effective plan to improve the economy and benefit working families?
That's a very good question. Yeah, of course, again, I'm biased. I'm sure you see the colors I have on. And this is not only just coming from the point of view of being a precinct organizer here in Southwest Denver, House District 1, former captain, co-captain, precinct co-captain. But I feel that as your audience are listening to myself and the other folks that you've talked to are going to be talking to, is going to be Kamala Harris, all the way, her and Tim Walz. I think that people start always saying, well, she's just going to be another Joe Biden. No, Kamala Harris is going to be Kamala Harris. I'm sure she is influenced by our sitting president now, Joe Biden, who's a wonderful person. But I think that the messaging that is going out right now is not a message of hate against people with immigration. And that's being politicized as well. I think the Democratic Party with their messaging has been the same all the way through, and even more so in this campaign. So definitely, I think the Democratic Party is messaging that. And I think it's being messaged, that message is even down ballot too, of what we stand for. More than any other group. It is in the opposition is about something else. It's about hate. It's about, these people at the border need to go away. This country was made here in the United States. If you look at the dollar bill, it's in Latin, from the many is one. This nation is a nation of people from somewhere else, except for the indigenous cultures of America. So the Democratic Party is what I feel is the number one, the leading group for messaging in this particular campaign here in 2024.
Deborah, we appreciate all your dedicated work and most importantly for using your voice in today's election to represent those who cannot. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and you have a good day. Happy election. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Take care. Bye now.
Good. How are you?
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. With us, we have Dr. Steve del Castillo. He is an economist focusing on economic inequality, political economy, and Latino politics and public policy. Dr. Steve del Castillo, what role does economic and social issues play in your voting decision?
It plays a very strong part in my decision in voting because for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, it helps dictate how our Latino community will benefit from the economic system and the social systems that we have. And then secondly, because I look at areas of inequality, I always look at what's the equality within the system for the Latino population.
Thank you. Do you think the candidates have shown genuine commitment to these issues?
I believe so. If you look at, for example, it depends, I guess, on a couple of ways to look at this. One, if you look at the Donald Trump, what he has proposed are two major pieces to his economic issues. One is a major tax cut or continuation of the tax cuts that he had when he was president, which resulted in an $8 trillion deficit. And the other will be tariffs on goods coming from China, for example. And you're looking at 20 to 40%, in some cases even 100%, and even some cases from Mexico. And what that will do to our community is that we'll raise the prices so that we, as a community, will pay about $4,000 more for things like groceries and clothing and so forth. Now, if you look at the Harris economic plan, you're looking at really things like, for example, looking at a middle class tax cut. You're looking at, for example, home ownership, the assistance in a down payment of $25,000. He's also looking at growing small businesses with the goal of providing $50,000 for a small business startup, which is really key. And then, if I may go back to the home ownership, one of the ways that we as middle class people develop wealth and increase wealth is through home ownership, because we build equity into our homes, right? And that's how we build wealth. We don't inherit a lot of money like some folks. And then looking at affordable childcare is going to be very important, because that's one of the biggest expenses for working families, as you know. And the other is a long-term care for seniors, because again, that's become a really strong or very expensive approach when you have people, for example, who have to not only raising a family, but also paying for health care for in long-term care for their parents. And then finally, looking at investing in education, not just in college, but also for the trades. You know, one of the things that Vice President Harris has said is that we're looking at how do we increase the kinds of jobs that don't require a college education. You know, for example, the trades. We have a real need for folks working into the trades, electricians, looking at apprenticeships, for example, among carpenters and so forth. So that's going to be a very important part of the labor market for us as a community.
My last question for you, Dr. Steve del Castillo. What is the main message you would like the candidates or our Latino communities to hear from you?
I think there are two parts. One is that the candidates maintain communication with the Latino community, even when it's not election period or election time, that it's an ongoing communication with our community. And then the second part is that candidates recognize the contributions that the Latino community has made to our community, to the overall community. I think that's really important because it's an issue of I'm not just going or coming to us when they need votes, but also recognizing the contributions we have made.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We truly appreciate all your dedicated work and most importantly, for using your voice in today's election to represent those who cannot. Thank you, Dr.
You're welcome. Have a nice evening.
Joining us this evening is Dr. Luis Torres. Dr. Luis Torres is a longtime educator and administrator, having taught in higher education since 1972. How are you doing this evening, Dr. Torres?
I'm doing fine, thank you, and I appreciate this opportunity for this interview about the election.
Thank you. My first question for you is, do you believe the candidates' debates and speeches have sufficiently addressed issues relevant to the Latino community?
Absolutely not. There have been some issues that have been discussed, especially by Vice President Kamala Harris, that I think are very effective for the Latino population. For Donald Trump, I would emphasize his threat, and that is what it is. It is a threat to deport over 1 million immigrants. That's his statement. My main point about that, I have not heard this discussed very much. In fact, I haven't heard it discussed at all, is that I'm certain that would be a violation of the United States Constitution. The 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution provides for, and I took a look at it just a bit ago, it says, in addition to, of course, people who are born here or naturalized in the U.S., in other words, U.S. citizens, actual U.S. citizens, it also says, this is the second half of Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person. Notice that word person, right? It does not specify citizen, it says person. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So that is where the due process and the equal protection sections come up. And I think Donald Trump's statement, and he states it, he hollers it out, and so on, I think simply ignores the point that would be a violation of the U.S. Constitution. So my first point is that during the debate and in the subsequent campaigns, I don't know how he could say that. And I would say thank goodness for the 14th Amendment, not only for this point, but for due process and equal protection for all of us, citizens or not. Very quickly here, I think Kamala Harris's, Vice President Harris's effort to reduce, for example, tuition payments for students who have gone to higher education. I think that is very important for the Latino and for the African American communities. That will help them, of course, begin their careers after they graduate from college and universities. I think that is the kind of forward-looking issue, forward-looking effort that I think makes Vice President Harris's campaign so effective.
Thank you for that. My second question for you is, what impact could young Latino and first-generation voters have on the outcome of this election?
First, I think it's important to note that when we use the term young Latinos, what does that mean? The median age, I'm looking at some notes here, the median age of Latinos throughout the country is 30 years old, the median age, right? The non-Hispanic population, non-Latino, their median age is 41 years old. In other words, 11 years. Their median age is 11 years older than the Latino population. I happen to be a professor of Chicana and Chicano studies. So these statistics are sort of second nature to me. What does that mean? It means that for young Latinos, after they go to college, or if they don't go to college, they begin their careers, they begin working and so on. Vice President Harris's campaign promised to provide up to $25,000 for first-time home buyers, which means young people. I think that would be very effective, very important for young Latinos as they are trying to save up for a house. That is often a big stumbling block for young persons. Even if they can afford the mortgage, which of course has gone up quite a bit, it always does. Even if they can afford the mortgage, they often cannot save $25,000 for to go toward that payment. So I think that is a very important point. I think other areas that Vice President Harris has offered would also be very helpful. Looking forward, protecting the environment, for example, which is important to everybody, including for Latinos. So in a lot of ways, I think her campaign, her debate, certainly the issues she raised in the debate, are much more substantial than that of Donald Trump.
You briefly touched on my last question, but is there a main message that you would like to leave for the candidates or for our Latino communities regarding the importance on immigration policies that are currently being proposed?
Yes, definitely. I wish that Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump had spoken, for example, about DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, other than former President Trump's consistent efforts when he was president to eliminate DACA. We don't have time here for me to go into this in much detail, but in July of 2021, a federal judge in Texas forbade, in other words, ended any new applications for DACA. That is 3 years and 4 or 5 months ago. And since then, DACA has been essentially ended for any new applications. In Denver, that means that students in Denver Public High School, in the public schools in Denver, and actually throughout Colorado, have not been able to apply for DACA. I hope that if Vice President Harris wins, and I think she will, I hope that she will make it possible, that she will work with us here in Colorado to create, for example, a Denver DACA, a Denver Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and a Colorado DACA through an executive order by the mayor and by the governor. DACA was initially an executive order by President Obama in 2012. But again, for the last 3 years, 4 or 5 months, it has been eliminated for all practical purposes for any new applications. Those who had it then could still apply, but the numbers are declining. So I would really think that here in Denver and in Colorado, we should make a concerted effort to work with the mayor, with the governor, and with our congressional representatives, in addition to, of course, hopefully President Kamala Harris's administration, to create, first of all, a United States-wide DACA, because it is very, very important to the young people who, I should say, and I will end quickly, who I should say were brought here at an average age of 7 years old, at which time it is impossible for anybody to commit any crime, violate any law, the mildest misdemeanor, not until one is 10 or 11 or 12. And even then, the justice system works to assist the young person, not to punish. But I think that would be a very important point for us to work on here in Denver and in Colorado, to create again a Denver and a Colorado DACA to protect these young people.
Dr. Luis Torres, thank you so much for all your dedicated work, and most importantly, for using your voice in today's election to represent those who cannot. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for the interview.
We are here to talk about the invasion of the Capitol in 2021.
The Constitution. He will cast aside the rule of law and do only what's in his interest, not in the interest of the American people. And that's a threat that we
We are here to talk about the invasion of the Capitol in 2021. And what memories and feelings do you have from January 6th?
Well, I was trapped in the House gallery on January 6, 2021, and I know what a dark day that was for our country. You know, the over 140 police officers that fought bravely to keep that mob back, who were brutally beaten by that mob that was incited by Donald Trump. You know, that was one of many occasions where Donald Trump showed that he will cast aside the Constitution, he will cast aside the rule of law and do only what's in his interest, not in the interest of the American people. And that's a threat that we should take seriously. And that's also why I believe that Vice President Harris is going to win tonight, because America does not want to go back. We don't want to go back to political extremism. We don't want to go back to the division that day represents.
Absolutely. What is your opinions in the investigation into those who participate and motivate in this invasion?
Well, there's been criminal prosecutions. Hundreds of people have been held accountable for beating the police officers and attempting to overturn our election. Like that, that's what that was actually about. You know, Americans and Coloradans should be really upset about what happened, because they tried to steal their votes. Right? People stepped up and engaged in our democracy and to vote for who they wanted to. And that mob and Donald Trump tried to overturn that election. That's something that every American should remember, particularly on a day like today.
Absolutely. Do you believe that influence in these elections?
I'm sorry, say again?
Do you believe this influence in the current electoral race?
I do. I think there's a lot of things that influence it. I think the fact that, women in America don't want their choice taken away from them and want control over their own bodies. I think that young folks are very concerned about the climate crisis. I think everybody's concerned about gun violence, and certainly a lot of people are concerned about democracy and making sure that we have a president, we have elected leaders that will obey the Constitution and their oaths in the rule of law is on everybody's mind.
Absolutely. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
your
you.
time. We are here to talk about the invasion of the Capitol in 2021. And gracias, Vivian, por compartir las opiniones de nuestra comunidad. Como vemos, estas elecciones son personales para muchos y el impacto de los resultados se sentirá en todos los niveles. Antes de despedirnos, recordemos lo que está en juego y qué podemos esperar en los próximos días mientras se completan los conteos de votos y se definen los resultados finales. Lo que suceda hoy marcará el rumbo de la política estadounidense en los próximos años y nosotros seguiremos aquí para mantenerlos informados. Gracias por acompañarnos con el semanario en esta cobertura especial. No olviden suscribirse y activar la campanita para recibir más análisis y actualizaciones. Nos vemos pronto y recuerden, si quieren más información y noticias como estas, visiten www.elsemanario.as. Gracias por acompañarnos.
audio.
Okay. Testing, testing, testing. Stop or pause? Pause. Joining us this evening is Dusty Guru. Dusty is the president and CEO of the Colorado Organization for Latina Opportunity and Reproductive Rights, best known as COLORS. Dusty, my first question for you is what factors do you believe could mobilize or immobilize Latino voters in this election?
I think the answer would be the same for any election. Our community elects candidates who they believe are values aligned. We've known this. We've seen this in our polling in the Colorado Latino Policy Agenda. This is our fourth year of gathering data from our community about their things that are important to them and also what they look for in candidates and elected officials. And so we know that alignment.
Okay. Testing, testing, testing. Stop or pause? Pause. Joining us this evening is Dusty Guru. Dusty is the president and CEO of the Colorado Organization for Latina Opportunity and Reproductive Rights, best known as COLORS. Dusty, my first question for you is what factors do you believe could mobilize or immobilize Latino voters in this election?
I think the answer would be the same for any election. Our community elects candidates who they believe are values aligned. We've known this. We've seen this in our polling in the Colorado Latino Policy Agenda. This is our fourth year of gathering data from our community about their things that are important to them and also what they look for in candidates and elected officials. And so we know that alignment around policy priorities and values is critical. And our community also values when elected officials or candidates look like us, right? That's not the only thing though. Like we know, for instance, Congresswoman Caraveo, when she ran and she's our first Latina congresswoman for Colorado, voters overwhelmingly turned out, and we did an exit poll in 2022. They resonated and aligned with her not just because she's Latina, but because of the policy issues that she worked on while she was in the state legislature. So I think it's connecting the dots to what they say they're going to do and what they actually do when they're in office. And continuing to communicate with them, right? Like staying connected is really critical too.
Thank you. Do you think the candidates have shown genuine commitment to the needs and concerns of the Latino community?
I think that question is sort of similar to the answer I just gave. I think if you look at, and I'm guessing you're sort of asking candidates, not specific candidates, just candidates in general?
Yes.
Or are you talking, okay. Again, I think that oftentimes elected officials, campaigns tend to take our community for granted, in all honesty. And so I think Latino voters and even our community who isn't able to vote, right? They pay attention. They know who is being elected and what the issues that they're working on and what policies and sort of their narrative and what they say about our community, right? When they're talking in public. So people pay attention or are paying attention. And I think, we'll know, right, at the end of tonight, whether or not what I'm saying is really salient. But I know we've been polling on this for, as I mentioned, 4 years. We did an exit poll in 2022. We'll be doing an exit poll this year for this year's election as well. We'll release that tomorrow. I think the bottom line is that we can't take our community for granted. Elected officials, candidates need to have conversations with community, listen to what is important to community, and actually work on those policies and be it's not rocket science, right? You're an elected official, you're a public official. You communicate with your constituency and with your community. It's not that difficult to address.
I think that was such a strong conclusion. But I must ask, is there anything you would like to, is there anything you would like to leave the candidates or Latino communities to leave with?
I think again, our country, our politics are so polarized. I think it's important for our community to get connected with their elected officials, your school board members, your wherever you live, your state representatives, your state senators. Come to Latino Advocacy Day, which we do every year. It's held in March. Meet your representatives and get to know the process, right? So that you can have an active voice in what happens to your community, so that they can't, again, take us for granted. We send them letters, you got to call them, you meet with them. And so it takes energy to be civically engaged, but our voice is so critical. And if our voice isn't there, someone else is going to fill that, and they may not have the best needs or intentions for our community. And so we need to be active and present and advocates for our own destinies.
We love that. Thank you so much. We appreciate all your dedicated work and, most importantly, your voice in today's election to represent those who cannot. Thank you so much, Dusty.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Joining us this evening is Manuel Almaguer. Manuel Almaguer is a community advocate with 25 years of experience in public safety with a background in mental health. My first question for you, Manuel, is what role do culture and identity play in your voting decisions?
Culture and my identity play a significant role in my voting decision. So it just comes basically down to aligning my cultural values, my cultural upbringing, the cultural norms, and aligning them with the candidate's stances on certain policies and programs. But I also feel as a Latino, I can't help it. I always go back to the past to know where we need to go as a country. And so when I think of the past, I think of past generations of those that sacrificed to come to this country to experience the American dream. And those also include those who were born here, who have had the journey to have opportunities, equal opportunities, on certain important topics like education, employment, healthcare, and safety. So I must consider these when I vote, and I also go back to traditions. I also go back to even trauma that has been inflicted on me and those that I care for very much. And those also impact my voting decision. And my identity, I have so many identities as in this season of my life. I identify as a Latino, as a male in the working class, a 25-year veteran in public safety, a man of faith. So I have all these boxes that I need to check when I vote. And my past experiences, how I identify in my culture, it creates a very expansive view for me when I vote, where it's not so myopic. And then I also look through a lens of compassion, and I look through a lens of empathy, as I have so much of my cultural roots that are embedded into my voting decision.
Thank you. Do you believe the candidates' debates and speeches have sufficiently addressed a lot of the issues that you just listed?
No, I believe that, one candidate is such a polarizing figure that I believe that many of the Latinos, including myself, our minds were already made up. And I believe that the speeches and the debates, they only reinforced what we already knew. And I believe that the debate was successful for Trump supporters, but I also believe that it also created hope for our country and a newfound energy and some momentum and energy for Kamala Harris. So I believe Harris and her responses in the debates, I believe that it touched the periphery of a lot of the issues that are impacting Latinos, but it prompted Latinos to go out there and start being motivated to start delving into these issues because knowing that it was impacting them. And also Latinos knowing that they carry a strong voice in this 2024 election. So where the key is now, you see that final push in the campaign speeches is to sway those that are undecided, mainly in these battleground states. And I believe that the speeches and the final push come from two different angles. I believe one is damage control for very demonizing comments that were made that have created divisiveness, where the other is to inspire and create that vision of hope for our country. But I also believe that there could be more. There could be more outreach. There could be more messaging where it gets baked in and it gets saturated into our communities, and where the Latino communities know where specifically, no doubt, where these candidates stand on these issues.
You pretty much knocked out my last question. But I must ask, is there any other message you would like the candidates or our Latinos communities to hear from you this evening?
Yes, the Latino vote, it's an American vote. And I think this election, it highlights the diverse perspectives and the growing political independence of the Latino voter. And it shows the increasing focus on pertinent issues rather than party loyalty. Because I remember the days when it was a vote for the family collective. I voted for who my parents voted for. I voted for who my grandparents voted for. Now you're seeing, even within a household, generations that have different political views and different values and look for what each candidate can provide. So we're just starting to see over the past 10 years just that shift in a predominantly Latinos always supporting Democrats. Now you start to see a little bit more of that going more to the right. So I believe the outreach and strategy, both parties have to have a plan of action and a strategy on how to reach the Latino voters.
Manuel, thank you so much for joining us this evening and for your dedicated work and most importantly, for using your voice in today's election to represent those who cannot. We appreciate you so much and thank you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Tenemos a Milo Marquez. Milo Marquez is the Director of Community Engagement at the Latino Research and Policy Center at CU Denver. How are you doing, Milo?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. My first question for you is, do you think
Thank you to our incredible Attorney General Bill Weiser, who does an amazing job for the state of Colorado. Thank you, my friend. First of all, I want to thank the voters of the 6th Congressional District for once again entrusting me to be their voice, to be their vote in Washington. Thank you, and I couldn't be more honored to be in my fourth term for the voters of the 6th District. Listen, folks, the night is early, and I know there's a lot of races that are still to be called, including the top of the ticket. It's likely that will go on for some time. It's a close race. But I wanted to reflect for a moment on why we are here. But I think what binds us all together as Colorados and as Americans. I've been thinking very deeply over the last couple of months about this notion of what makes our country great. Because our opponents, folks like Donald Trump, have told the story of what he says makes America great. And it's a story about division, about fighting each other, that this multicultural pluralist society did not work. But my experience says something very different. As some of you know, in the formative years of my life, I had the honor of leading American soldiers for this country. And when I think about America, I think about those soldiers, those paratroopers. See, those paratroopers, they came from everywhere. They came from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west, from everywhere in between. From the cities, the farms and ranches. They were rich, they were poor, straight, gay. They represented America. And there was no reason why we would have otherwise been there together. There we were. We were thrust together as a team and we were given a mission. And we had a choice to make. Would we focus on our divisions? Would we tear each other apart? Or would we come together and find that common unity that bonds us together? Well, that is what we did. We fought together, we had each other's back, and we became brothers and sisters. We became something bigger and better than we ever would have been as individuals. We learned from each other. We humbled each other. We empowered each other. And that is the true beauty of America. And our opponents would say that could never work. That's not possible, is what they say. You can't do that. But we know differently. We know that you can. So I believe that is the strength of this country. I believe that is not the promise of this country. I believe that we will win. That we will always, from the top to the bottom, that America's voice is strong. That people want unity. They want us to come together to do great things. I couldn't be more honored to be there in Washington, D.C., to be your voice, to fight, to win, because we are not going back. When we fight, thank you, Colorado. I'm so proud to once again have your trust. If you were a state councilman, please come to the front stage and talk to us.
Milo Marquez is the Director of Community Engagement at the Latino Research and Policy Center at CU Denver. How are you doing, Milo?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. My first question for you is, do you think the candidates have shown genuine commitment to the needs and concerns of the Latino community?
Are you asking about candidates locally or nationally? Because I think that they're not showing commitment to the degree that they should. I think many of our candidates have never taken the Latino community seriously. We can take a recent comments made at a political rally just last week where they made disparaging comments toward Puerto Ricanos and Puerto Rico, saying that the island was a big pile of garbage. Now we're finally seeing media coverage of these types of stories. Where the candidates and the media, where were they before? Where were the candidates and the media before? Many of these types of stories, they've been made by one political party in the past with no repercussions. Have the candidates been speaking about Latino economic mobility? Or do they believe that Latinos only hold manual labor jobs? Based on research, recent research that's come out, we know that Latinos are the fastest growing population of entrepreneurs in this country. Latinos are attending college at much higher rates than ever seen before. We know that based on recent Latino policy agenda put out by Color and Voces Unidas de las Montañas, the economy is the #1 concern amongst our Latino population. We also know the
y un dedo del lugar para que te pongan en cajas. Ojalá y te pongan en cajas. Ya lo estoy mandando. Pero digo, el dedo en caja. Sí, ¿no? ¿Ya se conectaron? Está en la caja. Sí, está esta caja roja que te puedes conectar, pero tendrás que tener el XLR al headphone jack. Está de random y luego de XLR. ¿Segura?
impact of gun violence. I'm so proud of what we have accomplished with our majority. Our majority has increased protection for our renters, boosted workers' rights, and fought for every community in our state. In the San Luis Valley, the Western State, we are fighting for our freedoms. Our colleagues fighting for your values. From Denver to Route and everywhere in between, we fight for you. Colorado is a hopeful place and a welcoming place. And we will do everything, and I mean everything, in our power to protect our freedoms, our rights, our communities. And we will not bow down to extremism. I can't hear you. Can you be a little louder? Our victory tonight is your victory. And together, we will move Colorado forward. Thank you for your support. I'm looking forward to getting back to work in January and to make our state more affordable and once again deliver the results you all asked for. Thank you and congratulations.
Que me fuiste a interrumpir allá y no pude tomar una super foto, apenas llegaste ya se acabó. Pero ya es bueno que ya me atrás ahí por favor. Mi amor, pero cuando tú llegaste ahí, no, cuando tú llegaste ahí, me preparaste para tomar fotos, mi amor. Yo soy la foto. No sabía que Carabeo iba a hablar. Grabándola o quédate lo que quieras. Ahora lo que usted quiera, yo lo resuelvo allá. Yo no sé dónde me ubico, dónde me paro, ponga lo que usted se me dé la gana.
did it. And Colora Action Fund, I'm co-chair of the campaign along with Karen. Colora Action Fund also ran a persuasion campaign targeting the Latino community called Abortion Access for All. And we call it Abortion Access for All because it's about everyone, regardless of income, job title, health insurance, gender, race, sexuality, nationality, or immigration story. And for Latinos in Colorado, our community's lives literally depend on reproductive justice. I know this personally. I come from a family of strong matriarchs rooted in our state for over 5 generations. I was also blessed to grow up in the crusade for justice during Denver's Chicano movement. Together, these two realities helped shape a strategy to address the fact that my grandmother, who was born in 1913, didn't have access to abortion care, it wasn't even legal then, or even contraception, to be able to determine how many children she would have and when. She ended up having 15 kids. I think of her and the many in our communities who, more than 100 years later, still don't have access to the care that they need or want. But tonight's victory in Colorado brings that reality closer. The first campaign I ran to increase Latino turnout was in 2004, which consequently resulted in the election of our first and only Latino senator. And since then, my resolve has continued to increase our community's capacity to participate actively in our democracy. For over 8 years, I have devoted my life to Colorado because the reproductive justice movement provides our path to justice for everyone in our community. Today, we know that all of these realities intersect. We must engage, we must take a stand for or against all of them. To quote MLK, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Tonight is a historic moment for me and for Color, we're 26 years old, and for my amazing team over there who are shouting and for the many people who have lost their lives. Oh, now I'm in part. To our movement, or who have been criminalized for being brown, black, trans, poor, or even having uterus. Voters made clear tonight that enshrining the fundamental right to abortion in our state constitution is imperative. Further, they made it clear that your health insurance should not determine whether or not you can have an abortion. By voting yes on Amendment 79, we've secured the right to bodily autonomy for all Coloradans without government interference. And we in Colorado, we reject what the Supreme Court says or does. We reject what Republicans say or do. Abortion access is here to stay in Colorado. Together, Color and Jess, our amazing campaign director. Where are you, Jess? Yes, I can't say with my reading. And all of our amazing partners with me on the stage and throughout the state of Colorado. We succeeded in providing critical information about why abortion is health care. We successfully collaborated to empower our communities, and we ensured that every voice was heard. And we will continue.
Do something else. How many of you signed a petition for this amendment? How many of you carried a petition for this amendment? This was a Colorado-based effort.
40 years ago tonight, the ability to access abortion through state dollars was eradicated by less than 1%. Every vote mattered, and we're so grateful that you're all here tonight. This is the victory of years of hard work and strategy to ensure our rights are protected by the Constitution. The people of Colorado, including all of you who just raised your hands, have spoken, and they've said they want the freedom to make decisions about their own bodies without government interference. By enshrining this freedom into our state's constitution, we have ensured that our rights cannot be taken away by the stroke of a pen. Tonight's win on Amendment 79 represents a decisive statement about our shared values as Coloradans on abortion rights and access. Our state has long been a leader on abortion access, and we continue to be with our success tonight with Amendment 79. And we will build on that success with an implementation process that is already moving forward with legislation. Let's go! Thank you to everyone. Jess Brennan, all of you who carried a petition. Allison Edwards, our partners with Interfaith Alliance, New Era Colorado, Progress Now Colorado, in addition to Core and Cobalt. And we had 100 plus endorsers, including the Colorado Democratic Party, who stepped up and leaned in. By voting yes, Coloradans have successfully prevented politicians from making reproductive health care decisions for us. This win keeps the power where it belongs, with the people of Colorado. This was a Colorado-driven campaign. There are a lot of ballot measures tonight. We're one of the few that was Colorado-born and Colorado-driven, thanks to all of you. We started this over 2 years ago, and we are so grateful to each and every
All right, folks, I am so excited to introduce the best boss I've ever had, Senator John Hickenlooper. All right, and I do not have a speech to give. I am here for a performatory function, which is to say, first, I want to congratulate everybody here on all the amazing work you've done, not just over the past 2 weeks, not just over the past 2 months, but the last couple years. It's been a monumental feat, and I remain cautiously optimistic that we're going to have great news all night and tomorrow, and probably Thursday and Friday, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for all that work. Now, I get to introduce someone who needs no introduction, which is why you have to have a little bit of a longer introduction.
when he was governor, in his cabinet. He works harder than anyone I know for our great state, and he's going to do a hell of a job representing us in the U.S. Senate. I'm here today to say thank you for giving me the privilege of representing our great state and re-electing me to the U.S. Congress for another term. And let me just say, 6 years ago I stood before you when we made state history and for the first time elected a black American to the United States Congress from the state of Colorado. And there's not a day that goes by that I'm not deeply grateful to the people of our wonderful state, a state that has given me and my family so much, a kid from Highlands Ranch in Aurora, somebody who has honestly served our state because he believes in the future that we can build together for our children and our children's children. Now I know we've got a lot of twists and turns in the election tonight, but I want to assure you of one thing. I serve as Assistant Minority Leader in the House, and I can tell you that our candidates are winning in New York, they're winning in Iowa, they're winning in Nebraska, they're winning in Arizona, and the best is yet to come. So keep the faith, Colorado Democrats. We're going to prevail tonight. We'll prevail in the days ahead, and we will work together to build that brighter future that every single child in our state can count on. Let's get it done, Colorado Democrats. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless. Thank you.